Part 5. They Run Earth had not seen war for 2 centuries. The blue planet hung in space, peaceful and beautiful, home to 8 billion people who had thought themselves safe. They watched the news broadcasts showing the Caltherian armada approaching and understood their time had run out. High Commander Velkoth led the assault personally. 600 warships, the largest concentration of force the Empire had ever assembled. They would destroy Earth, then systematically eliminate every human colony. This time, there would be no tricks, no escapes, no mercy. Prepare planet-killer weapons, Velkoth ordered as his fleet entered the Sol system. We will turn their homeworld into a warning that lasts 1,000,000 years. But Earth was no longer the peaceful planet it had been. Every orbital platform was armed. Every moon base was a fortress. The asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter had been turned into a weapons factory. And throughout the system, invisible to Caltherian sensors, Project Tempest waited. Captain Hyunwoo's fleet positioned itself near Mars. 250 ships, everything humanity had left. They looked tiny compared to the approaching armada. Hyunwoo knew this was the final battle. Win or die here. All ships, hold formation until my command, he transmitted. His hands were steady now. No more fear. No more doubt. Just cold determination. Counselor Jiwoo watched from a command bunker beneath Earth's surface. Around her, military leaders and government officials monitored every screen, every sensor. Dr. Sunho stood beside her, his finger hovering over the Tempest activation switch. Are you sure about this? Jiwoo asked quietly. Sunho looked at the approaching alien fleet. 600 ships. Planet-killer weapons. They were coming to exterminate every human. I am sure we have no choice. The Caltherian fleet moved into Earth's orbit. They ignored the human fleet near Mars, confident they could destroy it whenever convenient. First, they would finish the job they came to do. Velkoth activated the communication system. This is your final moment, humans. Watch as your home burns. Let this be a lesson about defying the Empire. Planet-killer weapons powered up. Massive energy beams designed to crack a world's crust and boil its oceans. They targeted Earth from 6 positions simultaneously. Then humanity struck. Every orbital platform fired at once. Not just missiles and railguns, but something new. Micro-jump torpedoes that appeared directly on top of Caltherian ships, bypassing shields entirely. Drone swarms that jumped into formation cores. Kinetic projectiles delivered via precision FTL. The carefully organized Caltherian fleet became chaos in seconds. 40 ships exploded before they could even respond. The planet-killer weapons lost power as their ships took critical damage. Hyunwoo's fleet micro-jumped from Mars directly into the battle. They appeared scattered throughout the Caltherian formation, each ship targeting specific points. Maximum aggression, 0 caution. For Earth, Hyunwoo transmitted. For humanity, make them pay for every meter. The battle became the most brutal of the war. Human ships were destroyed by the dozens, but they took aliens with them. Retrofitted mining vessels rammed Caltherian cruisers. Colony transports detonated their reactors next to enemy flagships. Every human ship fought like it had nothing left to lose. Because they did not. Velkoth watched his perfect formation disintegrate. How? How are they doing this? We have 600 ships. They fight without fear, his tactical officer said. They accept death and use it as a weapon. Then we will give them death. Velkoth redirected all firepower toward the human fleet. Energy beams and missiles filled space. Human shields collapsed, hulls were torn apart, crews died in vacuum. The Commonwealth fleet was being destroyed, but they were not defeated. Activate Tempest, Jiwoo ordered. Sunho pressed the switch. Throughout the Sol system, in positions calculated over months of preparation, Project Tempest activated. It was humanity's most terrible creation, born from desperate genius. By creating cascading quantum tunnels in specific patterns, they could generate space-time ruptures, tears in reality itself. The first rupture opened near the Caltherian vanguard. It looked like a crack in space, a wound in the universe. The rupture expanded and everything nearby was pulled inside. 10 Caltherian ships simply ceased to exist. consumed by a hole in reality. Then a second rupture opened. Then a third. Then dozens. Human ships had been programmed with safe coordinates, areas where ruptures would not appear. Caltherian ships had no such information. They found themselves surrounded by tiers in space that devoured anything that came close. "What is this?" Velkoth screamed. "What weapon is this?" His science officer was pale. "They are tearing space-time itself. This should not be possible. The energy requirements, the calculations needed. I do not care about theory. Stop it. We cannot. Our weapons cannot target ruptures. Our shields cannot block them. If a ship gets too close, it is just gone." The Caltherian fleet tried to regroup, but the ruptures kept appearing. They were coordinated with human micro-jump attacks, creating a battlefield where aliens could not predict what space was safe. Formations broke apart as ships fled from ruptures, only to be destroyed by human weapons. A massive rupture opened directly in front of Velkoth's flagship. The ship's engines reversed thrust, trying to escape, but the rupture's pull was too strong. The flagship was dragged forward meter by meter. "Full power. Get us out of here," Velkoth commanded. The engines screamed at maximum output. For a moment, the flagship held position. Then a human destroyer micro-jumped behind them and fired directly into their engines. The Caltherian flagship lurched forward, crossed the event horizon of the rupture, and vanished. High Commander Velkoth and his entire command staff simply ceased to exist. Panic spread through the Caltherian fleet. Without their commander, facing weapons they could not understand or counter, discipline collapsed. Ships began jumping to hyperspace without orders, fleeing the system individually or in small groups. "All units retreat," the new senior commander transmitted. "Full withdrawal." The Caltherian armada broke. 600 ships had entered the Sol system. Less than 400 escaped. The rest were destroyed or swallowed by space-time ruptures that slowly collapsed, leaving no trace of what they had consumed. Hyunwoo's fleet pursued the retreating aliens, destroying stragglers. When the last Caltherian ship jumped away, only 97 human vessels remained operational, but they had won. On Earth, people poured into the streets. The impossible had happened. The unstoppable empire had been stopped. 8 billion voices cheered, cried, celebrated survival. In occupied New Sol, Deho heard the news and felt something he had not felt in months. Hope. The resistance erupted in coordinated attacks across all 3 occupied worlds. Caltherian garrisons, cut off and demoralized, began surrendering. Within days, all 3 colonies were liberated. The war did not end immediately. Scattered, battles continued for weeks as Caltherian forces retreated from human space, but the Empire's will was broken. They had sent their best, their strongest, their most devastating force. Humanity had defeated them. 3 months after the Battle of Sol, the Caltherian Empire transmitted a formal message. They recognized the Terran Commonwealth as an independent sovereign power. Borders were established. A peace treaty was signed. The war was over. Counselor Jiwoo stood at the signing ceremony, her hair now completely white from stress. Across the table, a new Caltherian ambassador sat. Not Vexithar, who had delivered the original ultimatum. He was disgraced, removed from power. The Empire acknowledges human territory and independence. The ambassador said formally, "We will not interfere in your affairs." "And you will never threaten us again," Jiwoo said firmly. "Because you have seen what happens when you push humanity too far." The ambassador did not argue. Everyone had seen what happened. Captain Hyunwoo recovered from his injuries, scarred but alive. The Commonwealth offered him command of their entire military. He refused. "I am tired of war," he said. "Let someone else prepare for the next one, because there will be a next one." He retired to a quiet colony world, trying to forget the thousands who had died under his command. The nightmares never stopped, but he learned to live with them. Commander Deho helped rebuild New Sol. The city had been damaged during occupation and liberation, but it recovered. He was offered medals, promotions, political positions. He refused them all. "I just want to live quietly," he told Yunji, who had become his closest friend. We fought so we could have normal lives. Let me have mine. He opened a small restaurant in the rebuilt city center. People came not just for the food, but to hear his stories. He spoke honestly about the fear, the losses, the moral compromises war demanded. He never made it sound glorious. Dr. Minji became a symbol of resistance. Statues were built in her honor across human space. Her final broadcast was taught in schools as an example of courage. She had traded her life to expose the truth, and that truth had helped turn the galaxy against the Empire. Dr. Sunho destroyed all records of Project Tempest after the war. The weapon was too dangerous, too terrible. Several governments demanded he preserve it for future use. He refused. Some weapons should never exist, he said. We created this out of desperation. Now that we survived, we must make sure nobody ever uses it again. Part 4, The Fury Unleashed. The Caltharian Empire did not know how to lose. For 800 years they had conquered without defeat. The retreat from Terra Nova was more than a military loss. It was a crack in their foundation, but they did not learn the lesson humanity wanted them to learn. They did not see a species that should be left alone. They saw a problem that required a bigger hammer. High Commander Velkoth stood before the Imperial Council, his 4 arms spread wide. The humans have embarrassed us, made us look weak before the entire galaxy. This cannot stand. We will return with overwhelming force and erase them completely. Some councilors protested. The cost of the Terra Nova battle had been severe. 73 ships destroyed. Admiral Krovish dead, hundreds more vessels damaged. Meanwhile, other species were watching. Some with fear, others with hope. The humans have revealed a critical flaw in our formations, one councilor argued. Their micro-jump technology exploits our tactical doctrine. Perhaps we should negotiate? No. Velkoth slammed his primary hands on the table. We negotiate from strength, not weakness. We will adapt our tactics and crush them. Then every other species will remember why they fear the Empire. The order was given. 5 full battle fleets would converge on human space. Over 1,000 warships. Enough to overwhelm any defense, any tactic, any resistance. They would start with the core colonies and work outward until nothing remained. Commonwealth intelligence detected the mobilization within days. Councilor Jiwoo looked at the reports and felt ice in her stomach. 1,000 ships. Even with Terra Nova's victory, those numbers were impossible. She called an emergency session. Captain Hyunwoo attended from his hospital bed, still recovering but refusing to rest. Dr. Sunho joined remotely from the research station. Every governor, every military commander, everyone who mattered. We have maybe 2 months before they arrive, Jiwoo said. We need everything. Every tactic, every weapon, every crazy idea. Because this is extinction-level force. Hyunwoo spoke first, his voice still weak. We cannot fight them head-on. We need to make every system, every planet, every station a nightmare. We turn our entire civilization into a weapon. Explain, Jiwoo said. Mining ships become bombers. Colony habitats become traps. Civilian freighters become missile platforms. We weaponize everything and everyone. We do not hold territory. We make them pay for every meter of space they occupy. Dr. Sunho added his thoughts. I have been refining the micro-jump technology. We can make it more aggressive. Drones that micro-jump directly into enemy engine nacelles. Missiles that appear inside shield perimeters. Mines that jump into the middle of formations. We turn our disadvantage into an advantage, Hyunwoo continued. They have better ships, better weapons, better shields. But we have desperation. We have nothing left to lose. Governor Junho from Terra Nova spoke up. My shipyard survived the battle. We can retrofit hundreds of civilian vessels in 2 months. Turn cargo haulers into warships. It will not be pretty, but it will add numbers. Do it, Jiwoo ordered. Everything that flies gets a weapon. Everything that shoots gets made deadlier. We have 2 months to turn humanity into the most dangerous species in the galaxy. The Commonwealth transformed itself for total war. Every factory switched to military production. Every engineer worked on weapons design. Every simulation was tactical training. On Europa, Sunho's team created new weapons that seemed insane. Drone swarms programmed to micro-jump inside enemy ship corridors. Kinetic projectiles delivered via precision FTL, bypassing shields entirely. Nuclear mines disguised as debris. We are breaking every rule of civilized warfare, one researcher said. Good, Sunho replied. Because the Caltherians are trying to exterminate us. Rules do not matter anymore. On occupied New Sol, Deho received new orders from Commonwealth Command. The Resistance would receive proper military support. Weapons, explosives, intelligence. Their job was to make occupation impossible. We are moving from resistance to total warfare, Deho told his expanded network. Over 15,000 fighters now, armed with smuggled weapons and captured Caltherian equipment. When their fleets arrive, they need to worry about their supply lines, their bases, their soldiers. They need to feel unsafe everywhere. Yunji had become his second in command, scarred but experienced. We will lose people. Lots of people, I know. But if we do not fight, we lose everyone. Daiho looked around at the fighters. Make them afraid. Make them paranoid. Make them understand that holding our worlds costs more than they are worth. The resistance attacks intensified. No longer small sabotage, but large-scale operations. An entire Caltherian barracks destroyed by tunnel bombs. A supply convoy ambushed and stripped of weapons. A communication hub taken over and used to broadcast propaganda before being abandoned. The Caltherians brought in more troops, established more checkpoints, imposed harsher punishments. But the resistance only grew. Every civilian pushed too far became a fighter. Every execution created 10 new rebels. In space, Captain Hyunwoo recovered enough to return to duty. His new flagship was a retrofitted colony transport, armed with every weapon they could mount. It was not elegant, but it worked. He assembled the fleet for inspection. 300 ships now, though most were converted civilian vessels, mining ships with missile racks, colony transports with railguns, even a luxury cruise liner turned into a drone carrier. We look ridiculous, one captain said over the communication channel. We look desperate, Hyunwoo corrected, and desperate people do not fight by rules. Remember that, they trained constantly. Micro-jump tactics refined to precision, attack patterns drilled until they could execute in sleep. Every crew member knew they were probably going to die. They trained anyway. The Caltherian fleets arrived at the edge of human space after 6 weeks. 1,000 warships organized into 5 battle groups. They advanced slowly, methodically, expecting strong resistance at the border colonies. They found nothing. The border colonies had been evacuated. Stations were empty. Defenses were offline. It was eerie, as if humanity had simply vanished. Commander Lorvath of the 3rd Battle Group was suspicious. This is too easy. They are planning something. Perhaps they surrendered and fled, his second-in-command suggested. No, these humans do not surrender. Be alert. The Caltherian fleet moved deeper into human space, heading for the core colonies. They bypassed empty stations, ignored abandoned outposts. Then they reached Lagrange Point 4, a standard navigation waypoint in empty space. The debris field appeared harmless. Broken satellites, old ship parts, standard space junk that accumulates over decades. The Caltherian ships passed through without concern. Then the debris activated. Thousands of drones that had been disguised as wreckage powered up simultaneously. They micro-jumped directly into the Caltherian formation, targeting vulnerable points. Engine nacelles, communication arrays, weapon systems. Each drone carried a small nuclear charge. Explosions rippled through the 3rd battle group. 47 ships were crippled in the first 30 seconds. The survivors scrambled to respond, shooting at everything, but the drones were too small, too fast, too many. By the time the attack ended, 70 ships were destroyed or disabled. The rest of the 3rd battle group retreated to regroup. What just happened? Lorvath demanded from his damaged flagship. Automated weapons, his tactical officer reported. They turned empty space into a minefield. We flew right into it. High Commander Velkoth received the report with fury. They are using tricks, coward tactics. Press forward. Find their fleet and destroy it. The Caltherian advance continued, but more carefully now. They scanned everything, shot at debris fields, moved in tighter formation. It slowed them down, made them cautious. Exactly what humanity wanted. The next attack came at Terra Nova itself. The Caltherians expected strong defenses there, remembering their previous defeat. They approached with overwhelming force, 200 ships prepared for fierce resistance. What they found was a trap. The orbital stations were indeed armed and defended. But between the planet and its 3 moons, the space was filled with invisible mines. Not traditional mines, but micro-jump mines. Devices that detected ships passing nearby, then jumped directly onto the hull before detonating. The Caltherian formation entered orbit and immediately started taking casualties. Ships exploded seemingly at random. Scans showed nothing until explosions were already happening. Panic spread through the fleet. Captain Hyunwoo's fleet chose that moment to attack. 300 ships micro-jumped into the chaos, targeting confused and damaged vessels. The Caltherians tried to form defensive positions, but the micro-jump mines kept exploding, destroying any coordination. Hyunwoo's ship appeared directly above a Caltherian cruiser. They fired every weapon at once, their railguns punching through already weakened shields. The alien ship broke apart. "Keep moving," Hyunwoo ordered. "Never stay still. Hit and jump, hit and jump." The battle lasted 8 hours. The Caltherians lost 83 ships before retreating. The Commonwealth lost 47 vessels, but considering the odds, it was another miracle. As the alien fleet withdrew, Hyunwoo transmitted a message to all Caltherian ships. "You came to our home. You attacked our people. Every star system, every planet, every empty piece of space will cost you. Leave now or we will destroy you piece by piece." Part 3. First blood news of the victory at Gyeonggi Station reached every human colony within hours. In occupied territories, people whispered the story in secret. In free colonies, they celebrated openly. On Earth, crowds gathered in city squares to watch footage of Caltherian ships burning. But Captain Hyunwoo did not celebrate. He stood on the bridge of his damaged flagship, reading casualty reports. 14 ships destroyed meant 3,000 crew members dead. He knew many of them personally, had eaten meals with them, trained with them, joked with them. Now they were gone. His communication officer approached quietly. "Captain, we're receiving messages from every colony. They want to know what happens next." Hyunwoo looked at the star map. The Caltherian Empire was vast, shown in red across thousands of systems. Human space was a tiny cluster of blue dots. One victory did not change the math. The Empire still had overwhelming force. "What happens next," he said slowly, "is we prepare for their response, because they will respond." He was right. The Caltherian High Command convened an emergency session. For 800 years, the Empire had expanded without serious resistance. Client species either surrendered peacefully or were crushed quickly. The loss at Gyeonggi Station was unprecedented. Some commanders argued for negotiation. Humanity had proven itself capable of inflicting damage. Perhaps integration should be offered on better terms, but the hardliners shouted them down. "We cannot show weakness," High Commander Velkoth declared. "If one species can defeat us and gain favorable terms, every subjugated race will rebel. We must make an example of humanity. Total, absolute, final." The decision was made. The 7th Armada would be dispatched. 300 warships under Admiral Krovesh, the subjugator of worlds. He had crushed 17 species into submission. Humanity would be the 18th. When Commonwealth intelligence intercepted communications about the 7th Armada, panic spread through the Council. 300 ships. Even with the micro-jump tactic, those numbers were impossible. Counselor Jiwoo called an emergency meeting with military leadership. Captain Hyunwoo attended via hologram, his face gray with exhaustion. "Can we win?" Jiwoo asked simply. "No," Hyunwoo said. "Not in a direct fight. 300 ships against our remaining fleet of less than 200? We'd need a miracle." "Then we need to create a miracle," Jiwoo said. She turned to Dr. Sunho, who had been working non-stop at the research facility. "Tell me you have something." Sunho's hologram flickered as he shared his screen. "Complex equations and tactical simulations. We can improve the micro-jump technology, make it faster, more precise, but it is still not enough to win. It is enough to survive. Maybe." "Surviving is not winning," someone said. "Surviving is everything," Jiwoo countered. "Every day we survive is another day to find an advantage. Every battle where we do not get completely destroyed is a victory." She made a decision. "Evacuate non-essential populations from border colonies. Fortify key positions. Every ship, every weapon, every soldier we have goes to defend Terra Nova." "Why Terra Nova?" Hyunwoo asked. "Because it is our second largest colony. If the Caltherians want to make an example, that is where they will strike. We will be waiting." Terra Nova was home to 7 million people. It had 3 moons, extensive orbital infrastructure, and some of the Commonwealth's best shipyards. The planet had never seen war. That was about to change. The evacuation began immediately. Every available transport ship made runs to Terra Nova. carrying civilians to safer colonies. But 7 million people could not be evacuated quickly. Most would have to stay and hope. Governor Junho organized the planetary defense. Every orbital station was armed. Mining ships were retrofitted with weapons. Civilian vessels were registered for military use. If the Caltherians wanted Terra Nova, they would have to dig humanity out piece by piece. On New Sol, Daeho's resistance had grown bolder after Gyeonggi Station. They struck almost daily now, hitting targets across the planet. The occupation forces increased patrols and checkpoints, but the attacks continued. Yoonji led a raid on a communication facility, destroying the main transmitter. Another team sabotaged a water treatment plant. A third ambushed a patrol, killing 6 Caltherian soldiers and capturing their weapons. The Caltherians responded with harsher measures. They imposed curfews and executed suspected resistance members. But for every human they killed, 2 more joined the underground. Fear was turning into fury. Daeho received a coded message from Commonwealth Command. The 7th Armada was coming. Terra Nova would be the battlefield. All resistance cells should intensify operations to distract occupation forces. He gathered his fighters that evening. They numbered over 5,000 now, spread across dozens of cells. Looking at their faces, he saw exhaustion and determination in equal measure. The Empire is sending 300 ships to destroy Terra Nova, he told them. Our fleet will fight them, and we will help by making life hell for every Caltherian on this planet. They want to focus on Terra Nova? We will make them focus on us instead. That night, resistance cells across all 3 occupied worlds launched their largest coordinated attack yet. Explosions and firefights erupted simultaneously in hundreds of locations. The Caltherians scrambled to respond, requesting reinforcements from the fleet. In orbit above Busan Station, Dr. Minji's final broadcast had spread across the galaxy. Her footage of Caltherian occupation practices was being analyzed by neutral species. Some dismissed it as propaganda. Others started questioning their alliances with the Empire. The Caltherian government issued official statements. They claimed Minji's footage was fabricated, that their occupation was lawful and humane, but doubt had been planted. On Terra Nova, Captain Hyunwoo arrived with the Commonwealth fleet. 186 ships, every vessel that could still fly. They formed defensive positions around the planet, supported by orbital platforms and converted civilian ships. Hyunwoo met with Governor Junho in person. The governor was a small woman, barely 50, but she radiated calm authority. My people are scared, she said. 300 ships sounds impossible. It is impossible, Hyunwoo admitted. By every tactical analysis, we should lose badly. Then why are you here? Because sometimes impossible just means nobody has done it yet. He pulled up tactical displays. We will use hit-and-run tactics, micro jumps to strike and retreat. We will not try to hold positions or defend static points. We flow like water, always moving. And if they just ignore our fleet and bombard the planet, then we micro-jump directly onto their bombardment ships and turn them into scrap metal before we die. Hyunwoo smiled grimly. We may not win, Governor, but we will make them pay for every meter. The 7th Armada arrived 1 week later. They emerged from hyperspace in perfect formation, 300 warships arranged in 5 geometric patterns. It was beautiful and terrifying. Admiral Krovesh transmitted a single message. Surrender immediately. You have 1 hour. Hyunwoo's response was equally brief. Come and take it. The Caltherian fleet advanced. Human ships scattered, refusing to present a unified target. When the aliens opened fire, the Commonwealth fleet jumped away, appearing behind the Caltherian formation. The battle began. Human ships appeared and vanished across the battlefield. They jumped into the middle of Caltherian formations, fired everything they had, then disappeared before return fire could hit. The aliens tried to adapt, spreading their formation wider, but that just made coordination harder. Hyunwoo coordinated the assault from his flagship. Every 3 minutes, he ordered a new pattern. Strike from above, vanish, reappear from below. Attack the left flank, retreat, hit the right. Never stay in one place. Never give them a clear target. After 2 hours, 30 Caltherian ships were damaged or destroyed. But the Commonwealth had lost 47 vessels. The math was still against them. We cannot keep this up, Hyunwoo's tactical officer said. We are losing ships faster than them. I know, Hyunwoo said. He watched the battle display, looking for any advantage. The Caltherian fleet was starting to adapt, predicting human micro-jump patterns. They were learning, then he saw it. Admiral Krovesh's flagship was directing the battle from the center of the formation. If that ship was destroyed, coordination would collapse. All remaining ships, Hyunwoo transmitted, converge on my position. We are taking out their flagship. That is suicide, someone protested. Yes, but it will work. Hyunwoo plotted the jump coordinates himself. His flagship and 12 other vessels would appear directly around the Caltherian flagship. Point-blank range, maximum firepower. They would probably all die, but the Admiral's ship would die first. He thought about his family on Mars, his younger brother who looked up to him, his parents who worried every time he deployed. He had not called them before this battle. There had not been time, or maybe he had been too afraid to say goodbye. Jump on my mark, he said quietly. It's been an honor serving with you all. The 13 ships jumped simultaneously, appearing in a sphere around the massive Caltherian flagship. Every weapon fired at once. The alien ship's shields flared bright white, overloading from the concentrated fire. Return fire was immediate and devastating. 8 human ships exploded in seconds. Hyunwoo's flagship took 3 direct hits. The bridge filled with smoke and sparks, but they kept firing. Part 2. The breaking point. The station's weapons fired everything they had at the Caltherian flagship. Missiles, railgun rounds, plasma charges. The alien ship's shields glowed bright blue as the projectiles hit, then faded back to invisible. Not even a scratch. The return fire was immediate and precise. 3 strikes, 3 explosions. The station's weapon systems went offline. Emergency lights flickered throughout the corridors. Evacuation pods now, Daeho shouted. The crew scrambled for the escape pods as the station shook with another impact. Daeho was the last one to leave, watching through the pod's small window as the station he had called home for 5 years broke apart in silence. No sound in space, just light and debris. The pods scattered, racing toward the planet's surface. Behind them, the Caltherian fleet moved into position. Daeho's pod hit the atmosphere hard, the heat shield glowing orange. When it finally crashed in the forest outside New Seoul City, he climbed out and looked up at the sky. Alien ships filled the horizon. Dropships were already descending, carrying occupation forces. The war that humanity thought would last months was ending in days. New Seoul fell in 72 hours. The Caltherian soldiers moved through the city with practiced efficiency. They did not destroy buildings or kill civilians unnecessarily. They simply took control. Power plants, water facilities, communication networks. Within 3 days, the planet was theirs. Busan Station lasted longer. The mining colony had better defensive positions and fewer civilians to worry about. Commander Taewon, an old friend of Daeho's, led a fierce resistance. But after 7 days with supplies running out and casualties mounting, he surrendered. The Caltherians accepted gracefully and began their occupation. Jeju Prime surrendered without firing a shot. Governor Hana made the announcement herself, tears streaming down her face. I will not let my people die for pride, she said. 2 million farmers and their families watched alien ships land in their fields. 3 colonies gone in less than 2 weeks. The Commonwealth Council held another emergency session. This time there was no debate about surrender. The Caltherians had proven they could take any colony they wanted. The only question now was what came next. The answer arrived quickly. Ambassador Vexthar transmitted new demands. Total disarmament of all Commonwealth military forces, imperial governance of all human colonies, integration into the Caltherian Empire as a client species. They had 1 week to comply. And if we refuse? Counselor Jiwoo asked, though she already knew the answer. The populations of the occupied worlds will be processed for labor conscription, Vexithar said. Starting with children of education age, they will be relocated to imperial training facilities. The transmission ended. The council chamber was silent. They're going to take our children, someone whispered. Jiwoo looked around at the faces on the screens. Fear, anger, despair. She felt all of it herself. But beneath it something else. Something cold and hard. We need options, she said. Military options. Captain Hyunwoo stood. His uniform was torn. Burn marks on his shoulder from the battle at New Seoul. He had lost half his fleet in that first engagement. But his eyes were still fierce. We have one option left. Project Tempest. The name made several counselors flinch. Project Tempest had been a classified research program, shut down 20 years ago. Too dangerous, the reports had said. Too unpredictable. Too much potential for catastrophe. I'll authorize it, Jiwoo said. Whatever it takes. On occupied New Seoul, Daeho had gone underground. Literally. The resistance had set up bases in the old mining tunnels beneath the city. 2,000 soldiers and civilians armed with whatever weapons they could salvage or steal. They started small, sabotaging supply convoys, disrupting communication networks. The Caltherians responded with patrols and checkpoints, but they were not prepared for guerrilla warfare. Their technology was superior, but Daeho knew the terrain. Every tunnel, every back street, every hidden passage. 3 weeks into the occupation, Daeho's team hit a Caltherian supply depot. They waited until the guards changed shifts, then struck fast. Explosives planted at key support points. The building collapsed in seconds. By the time reinforcements arrived, the resistance had melted back into the tunnels, but the cost was high. 4 of Daeho's people died in the attack. 2 more were captured. The Caltherians executed them publicly the next day as a warning. That night, Daeho sat in the tunnels cleaning his rifle. One of his fighters, a young woman named Yoonji, approached him. "Commander, was it worth it? 4 dead, 2 executed for 1 supply depot." Daeho looked at her. She was 19, barely trained, but she had fought bravely. "You know what I learned today?" "What?" "They bleed. Their armor can be pierced. Their soldiers can be killed. They're not invincible." He set down the rifle. "That information is worth every life we lost. Because now we know we can hurt them." In the occupied zones, Dr. Minji worked as a liaison between the Caltherians and human civilians. It was horrible work. She had argued for peace, believed the Empire would be fair. She was wrong. The Caltherians were not cruel by their standards, but their standards were not human. They separated families for efficiency, relocated workers without warning, began genetic testing on children looking for useful traits. They did not see it as evil. To them, it was rational resource management. Minji saw a mother dragged away from her 5-year-old son. The child was deemed suitable for advanced education. The mother was not. They would not see each other again. That night, Minji sent an encrypted message to the Commonwealth. "I was wrong. We cannot live under their rule. Whatever it takes to fight them, do it." At a hidden research facility on Europa, Dr. Sunho stared at equations that made his head hurt. Project Tempest was based on a simple observation. Human faster-than-light drives worked differently than Caltherian technology. The Caltherians folded space, creating bridges between distant points. It was elegant and efficient. Human drives were cruder, punching through quantum barriers by brute force. It was slower, less refined, but it had one advantage. Human ships could make very short jumps with extreme precision. The Caltherians could not. Their minimum jump distance was several light hours. Humans could jump across a solar system in tiny hops. "It's not much," Sunho told the research team, "but it might be enough." He ran the calculations again. If a ship could appear right next to an enemy vessel, fire at point-blank range, then jump away before return fire hit them. If they could coordinate multiple ships doing this simultaneously, if they could turn their weakness into an advantage, "We need to test it," he said. "Test it how?" His assistant asked. "In combat. Real combat. There's no other way." Captain Hyunwoo assembled the fleet at a hidden base in the asteroid belt. 200 ships, all that remained of Commonwealth military power. Most were damaged. Crews were exhausted, but they were ready. "We're going to hit them," Hyunwoo said at the briefing. "Fast and hard, using tactics they won't expect. We can't match their firepower, but we can outmaneuver them." He explained Sunho's theory about micro-jumps, the tactical advantage of appearing at close range, firing, then vanishing. Some officers looked skeptical. Others looked desperate enough to try anything. "Our target is Gyeonggi Station," Hyunwoo continued. "It's a forward operating base for their fleet. Intelligence says 60 ships stationed there. We'll attack with 27. "Those odds are suicide," someone said. "Yes," Hyunwoo agreed. "But if we succeed, we prove humanity can fight back. We show the Empire and every other species watching that we're not easy prey." The fleet departed 3 days later. Daeho received word of the attack through resistance channels. He gathered his fighters in the tunnels. "Our fleet is going to hit the Caltherians at Gyeonggi Station. Whatever happens, we need to support them. Tonight we strike every target we can reach. Supply depots, communication arrays, patrol stations. Make them think they're under attack everywhere at once." "That will bring massive retaliation," Yoonji said. "I know. But if Hyunwoo succeeds, it will be worth it. If he fail, Daeho paused. If he fails, at least they'll know we fought until the end. That night, resistance cells across New Seoul launched simultaneous attacks. Explosions lit up the city. Caltherian forces scrambled to respond, confused by the coordinated assault. In the tunnels, Daeho's team fought a running battle with enemy soldiers. The aliens were tough, their weapons deadly. But in the tight corridors, human knowledge of the terrain made the difference. Daeho shot one Caltherian at close range, watched it fall. They could be killed. They could be beaten. Fall back, he shouted as reinforcements arrived. His team retreated deeper into the tunnels, leaving traps behind. In orbit above Busan Station, Dr. Minji made a decision. She had been documenting Caltherian treatment of prisoners, recording everything. Now she compiled it into a single file. Video of children being taken from parents. Audio of forced labor quotas. Evidence of genetic experimentation. She sent it everywhere. Every neutral species, every independent news network, every diplomatic channel. The Caltherians had built their empire on a reputation for enlightened rule. She was going to destroy that reputation. Within hours, the broadcast spread across the galaxy. Species that had stayed neutral started asking questions. The Caltherian Empire issued denials, but the evidence was clear. Part 1. The Provocation. The message arrived on a Tuesday morning, and it changed everything. Commander Daeho stood in the observation deck of New Seoul Station, watching the stars through the massive viewport. He had been stationed here for 5 years, protecting the colony and its 3 million inhabitants. It was peaceful work, mostly. The occasional pirate raid, some smuggling incidents, nothing serious. That morning felt different. The communication officer rushed into the room, her face pale. "Commander, we're receiving a transmission from an unknown vessel." "It's massive, sir. Bigger than anything in our database." Daeho turned away from the viewport. "Show me." The holographic display flickered to life, revealing a ship that made their largest cruiser look like a toy. It was elegant and terrifying, covered in smooth metallic plating that seemed to absorb light. The design was alien, beautiful in a cold way that made Daeho's stomach tighten. "They're hailing us," the officer said. "Put them through." The hologram changed, showing a creature that Daeho had only seen in intelligence briefings. A Caltherian, tall, with 4 arms and skin that shimmered like oil on water. Its eyes were too large, too knowing, and when it spoke, its voice came through the translator with an edge of boredom. "I am Ambassador Vexthar of the Caltherian Empire. You will relay this message to your governing body immediately. The Empire has claimed this sector for expansion. You will surrender the colonies designated as New Seoul, Busan Station, and Jeju Prime within 30 standard days. Failure to comply will result in pacification. This is not a negotiation." The transmission ended before Daeho could respond. For a moment, nobody spoke. Then the communication officer whispered, "Did they just demand we give them 3 of our colonies?" Daeho stared at the empty hologram. "Get me the Commonwealth Council now." The emergency session convened 6 hours later. Councillor Jiwoo presided over the meeting, her normally calm expression tight with tension. Around the virtual table sat representatives from every human colony, their faces displayed on screens that filled the council chamber. "We all received the same message," Jiwoo said. "I've asked our military advisors and diplomats to brief us on our options." Dr. Minji spoke first. She was young for a senior diplomat, barely 40, but she had spent years studying alien civilizations. The Caltherian Empire controls over 4,000 worlds. Their technology is centuries ahead of ours. Their military has never lost a war. "If we fight them, we will lose." Captain Hyunwoo slammed his hand on the table. He was younger than Minji, barely 30, but he commanded the largest battle group in the Commonwealth fleet. "So we just give them 3 colonies? 3 million people on New Seoul alone. What happens to them?" "They become imperial subjects," Minji said quietly. "The Caltherians are not cruel by their standards. They will integrate the populations, provide technology, education." "As slaves," Hyunwoo interrupted. "They'll be second-class citizens in their own homes." "They'll be alive," Minji shot back. "If we fight, how many will die? How many colonies will be destroyed before we surrender anyway?" The argument continued for hours. Some counselors agreed with Minji. The math was simple. Humanity had spread across 42 star systems with a total population of 18 billion. The Caltherian Empire numbered in the trillions. Humanity had 200 warships. The Empire had tens of thousands. but others sided with Hyunwoo. Daeho listened to the debates from New Seoul, his jaw tight. He had fought in the colony wars, the brief conflict when human settlements had turned on each other over resources. He had seen what happened when strong powers took what they wanted from the weak. It never stopped at 3 colonies. The session broke for the night without a decision. Jiwoo looked exhausted, her gray hair falling loose from its usual neat style. She called Daeho privately after the others had logged off. "What do you think, Commander?" Daeho looked out at New Seoul below the station. The lights of the city sparkled like stars. "I think they won't stop at 3 colonies, Counselor. Bullies never do. We can't win a war against them. Maybe not. But if we surrender now, we're telling them we won't fight. That makes everything else easier for them." Jiwoo was silent for a long moment. "There's something else." Intelligence Officer Soman intercepted some Caltharian communications. Encrypted, but she broke it. "Want to know what it said? Tell me." "Phase 1 is 3 colonies. Phase 2 is 12 more. Phase 3 is total annexation of human space. We're not just a conquest, Daeho. We're a test case. They want to see if they can take our worlds without any real resistance. If it works with us, they'll do it to other species." Daeho felt cold. "Have you told the Council?" "Tomorrow. But I wanted you to know first. Because if we fight, it starts at New Seoul, your station, your people, I understand. And I'll fight. Because if we don't, we're not just surrendering 3 colonies. We're surrendering all of them. We're surrendering humanity." The Council reconvened the next morning. Jiwoo presented the intercepted communications. The room fell silent as the translation played. The Caltharian High Command discussing human space like it was an empty lot to be developed. Talking about human labor potential, genetic research possibilities, how useful a compliant human population would be. The vote took place at noon. 28 colonies voted to refuse the ultimatum. 14 voted to surrender. It was not unanimous, but it was enough. Counselor Jiwoo recorded the official response that afternoon. Her hand shook slightly as she began. "To the Caltharian Empire, humanity rejects your ultimatum. These worlds are ours by right of settlement and sacrifice. We will not surrender them. We will not surrender our people. We will not kneel to threats. If you want our colonies, you will have to take them by force." She paused, then added quietly, "And we will make you pay for every meter of ground." The message was transmitted that evening. The reply came 12 hours later. Just 3 words from Ambassador Vexthar. So be it. The 30-day countdown began. Humanity prepared for war. Daeho stood in the observation deck again, watching as transport ships evacuated civilians from New Seoul. Not everyone could leave. Most people had nowhere to go. The other colonies were preparing for their own defenses, taking their own refugees. 3 million people lived on New Seoul. They could evacuate maybe 300,000 before the deadline. Captain Hyunwoo's voice crackled over the communication system. "Commander, we're repositioning the fleet. Defensive formation around your station. How many ships?" 15. "It's all we can spare. 15 ships against a Caltharian war fleet." Daeho almost laughed. Instead, he said, "Make them count, Captain." The days counted down. 28, 20, 15, 10. The Caltharian fleet was detected at the edge of the system on day 25. They were not hiding. They were not hurrying. They were coming slowly, deliberately, giving humanity time to understand how hopeless resistance was. On day 30, Daeho woke before dawn. He put on his uniform carefully, checking each button. He ate breakfast with his staff in the station cafeteria. Nobody talked much. They all knew what was coming. At noon exactly, the Caltharian fleet emerged from hyperspace above New Seoul. 60 warships, each one larger than anything humanity had ever built. They moved into formation with perfect precision, surrounding the planet and its orbital stations. Daeho watched from the observation deck as the first orbital defense platform exploded, then the second, then the third. The Caltharian weapons were invisible, just flashes of light and then destruction. The human fleet tried to engage, but their weapons barely scratched the alien shields. In 15 minutes, all the defense platforms were gone. 8 human ships were destroyed. The rest retreated. The Caltharian flagship moved closer to the station. A transmission came through. Ambassador Vexthar again, its large eyes emotionless. You have 1 hour to evacuate the station before we destroy it. The planet will be occupied by dawn. Resistance is futile. This is your final chance to surrender. Deho looked around at his crew. They were scared, but they were ready. He thought about his wife back on Earth, his daughter studying engineering on Mars. He thought about the 3 million people below, watching the sky fill with alien ships. He opened a channel to all Commonwealth forces. This is Commander Deho. New Sol is under attack. We are fighting back. We will not surrender. We will make them remember this day, for humanity. He closed the channel and turned to his weapons officer. Target their flagship. All weapons fire. The war had begun.